Moment 1. Edgar Allan Poe. Biography and literary personality. If you dig into Edgar Allan Poe's life, it is pretty much a long, sad history of bad luck, poverty, and losing everyone he cared about. Born in 1809, he spent his whole existence dealing with some heavy demons, and you can really feel that desperation in his writing. He was a guy who didn't fit the mold, living in his own personal nightmare, while most of his peers were busy romanticizing the landscape. Literary currents. He is firmly placed in the American Romantic period, but honestly, he was way darker than the other writers of his time. While others were obsessed with transcendentism or the beauty of nature, Poe was digging around in the basement of the human psyche, which is why he fits better into the dark side of Gothic Romanticism. Most relevant works. As for what he left behind, it is hard to beat the impact of the fall of the House of Usher, The Telltale Heart, or the super famous poem The Raven. He was also the guy who basically invented the detective story with the murders in the Rule March, which is wild when you dig about how much crime fiction today owes him. Most used literary genres. When it comes to his style, he was pretty much looked into short stories and poetry. He wasn't really a long-winded novelist kind of guy because he was obsessed with this thing he called the unity of effect, the idea that the story should be short enough to read in one sitting so the reader stays trapped in the mood. He focused almost entirely on Gothic horror and mystery, carving out a space that was entirely his own. Moment 2. Analysis of the Raven. Central theme. The central theme here is basically the heavy, soul-crushing weight of regret that just refuses to go away. It is about a guy who has lost his ear, Lenore, and is sitting in a room at midnight, letting his sadness turn into full-blown madness. Protagonism. The only real protagonism in the narrative itself, a lonely dude drowning in his own misery, while the Raven acts as his strange, silent antagonist. The bird doesn't actually do anything aggressive, but the narrator projects all of his own fears onto it. Conflicts. The conflict in the poem is totally internal and psychological. It's man versus his own memory and his inability to let go of the past. The narrator is looking for some kind of sign or hope, but he keeps asking the bird things that are designed to hurt him, which shows he is trapped in a loop of self-destruction. Poetic structure. If you look at the structure, it is incredibly tight and written, almost like a heartbeat or someone pacing nervously in a small room. It uses a very specific meter and internal rhythm scheme that make it sound like a chant or a dark spell, which is exactly why it sticks in your hand once you read it. Composition. Poe actually wrote an essay later explaining his composition process, and it sounds pretty cold-blooded for a guy writing about such intense sadness. He admitted they built the whole thing like an engineer, picking every word and sound to make sure it hit in the reader in the gut, with that sacred amount of melancholy. It was a calculated, expert trap designed to make you feel as hopeless as he did.